Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk Blue, Kevin McCrary and Tom Hayes.
It truly is about the performance, and hopefully when it's all said and done in December, we can whoever voted for us, we can make them look really smart and see if we can get it done.
Obviously, if you do something for a long time and it starts going bad, then they have to get a new coach. We all know that, but we don't plan on it going bad. And I'm really happy at South Carolina, the president, the AD, the fans. We all like each other.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome into Sports Talk South Carolina Radio Network from Columbia. I hope you've had a wonderful day, and we thank you for joining us here tonight on Sports Talk, wherever you happen to be dialed in around the great state of South Carolina. Phil Kornblut from our studios in downtown Columbia, joined by Kevin McCrary here in studio, who's made his way back from Pinehurst. ACC wrapped up their football kickoff today. Totally different than the SEC, which drags it out for 4 days. And if that's not enough for ESPN, they have all the SEC coaches come up to Bristol today and yesterday to answer the same questions that they asked them when they had exclusive access to the coaches for 4 days last week. They get them again this week. Steve Spurrier was up there, and we'll hear from him. But K-Mac interviewed a number of ACC coaches today, mano a mano.
Yeah.
And we'll hear from Dabo Sweeney and Bobby Petrino and who else?
Larry Fedora, we chatted with him. We talked to Paul Johnson briefly. Dave Doran briefly. I was warned that Doran was just putrid, but he actually surprised me. He's my first one this morning, so right? I was the bar low.
Nice way to start the day. How was Paul Johnson? Did you doze off during Paul Johnson?
No, but he was beat by the time I got him.
Yeah.
These guys, they go through the ring. Even Dabo, he had been there. We started at 8 o'clock this morning. They released a poll at 8 o'clock, and then we were off and running with interviews. And by 2:30, 3 o'clock, these guys are wiped out, talked out, ready to get back home and go to work.
Dabo talked out. Is that even possible?
He seemed a little talked out. Yeah. He was sitting there. They got backed up, and I was talking to Fedora while Dabo was waiting. I showed him he hadn't seen the ACC media guide. He was like, "What are you talking about?" And I told him to turn to page 145 and look at and then I just see his face. What happened?
What do those words mean?
And all the SIDs were furiously going through their media guides, making sure they didn't have anybody do something stupid. But that was the story of the ACC media day. Was it wasn't a typo.
The bad words.
The naughty words in their media guide.
All right, so we'll hear from all those folks and some Steve Spurrier from his trip up to Bristol today. We'll update a couple of notes for you, give you recruiting, and a visit to Darlington with Chip Weil, the president of Darlington, talking about New Hampshire behind us and looking ahead to this weekend's race too. As we get closer to racing at Darlington, that's not too far away now. They are really starting to get busy because Labor Day is right around the corner. So things are starting to get exciting over at Darlington. Your comments as well, 800-956-7266 is how you can reach us, and we'll be back in a moment.
In the West, I'm picking Mississippi State.
I mean, they just stop. Now just stop there.
I'm not.
You are going to be, I can't wait till the results come out, Corn. You will probably one of two people, I under 5 that pick
Can I
Mississippi
finish
State.
my pick?
I have no idea why that's being
You were one
drudged up.
of less than 5.
It's all right. We'll just see. The proof is in the pudding, my man. We'll see what happens come the season. Let's see how it plays
That's
out.
why they play the game.
I believe in Dak. I'm all about give me some Dak. He is the
Dak
man.
snack.
He's going to carry the West, going to shock the West. 800-956-7266 is the number. And the ACC media today, of which K-Mac was a part, they put the bullseye squarely on the back of Clemson. It wasn't even close, the voting. 84 points for Clemson, 84 championship votes. Clemson number 1, Florida State number 2. Unfortunately, they can't play each other for the championship because they're in the same division. I really think all leagues need to start doing away with these divisions, and let's just get it to where we're going to get the 2 best teams meeting in a championship game. We can talk about that. Clemson picked to win the ACC, Florida State second, Georgia Tech third with 20 votes, 84, 41, and 20. Those are the votes amongst those 3. Virginia Tech fourth, North Carolina fifth, Miami sixth, and NC State got 1 vote for seventh. In the Atlantic Division, Clemson, again, the clear leader with 111. Is that 101? 101 first-place votes. Florida State with 56. Then Louisville, NC State, Ball Syracuse, and Wake Forest. In the Coastal, Georgia Tech, followed by Virginia Tech, Miami, Duke, North Carolina, Pitt, and Virginia. You said you voted Duke last.
I couldn't pull up my ballot, and I was doing it off the jump. I don't remember. I voted them near the bottom. It was either somewhere between 4th and last. Might not have been last. Yesterday was a blur. Today was a little bit less of a blur, but yesterday was a definite blur. By the time I got on the air, I was just seeing stars.
And average probably helped you get to that point as well.
No, that was after. That's how I got
when
balanced out.
Stars later on.
Yeah.
Player of the year voting, Deshaun Watson, 69 votes. I tell you, I've got to get glasses. 69 votes. James Conner, did you recall that James Conner was the ACC Player of the Year last year? I mean, maybe the most untalked about Player of the Year ever in the ACC because he's at Pitt and they're not very good or haven't been very good. He got 46 votes. He finished second to Watson. Justin Thomas of Georgia Tech finished third in the balloting. So there you go. Clemson, the talk of the day today. I guess it's all Clemson.
Yeah, they were. Well, Jimbo Fisher was talking too, so there was a lot of questions. And I think just everything that's happened off the field in the past few weeks surrounding Florida State spooked people. And I think that is maybe overplaying what happened, even if Cook is gone. But Johnson wasn't going to be a factor this year anyway. Cook would have been a factor, but they have other guys that can play. So really, they lost one key guy, but they still have a new quarterback. They do have questions, and I picked Clemson to win it. I voted for them, and we talked about it last night. I think it's their time, and they are playing at home, and they have fewer questions to me right now than Florida State.
So people generally, the media generally not concerned with the massive personnel losses the Tigers suffered on defense. They feel like the offense will cover that up.
I think so. And there's still some pretty good players on that defense, especially in the secondary. Clemson has questions too. They're going to start a freshman on the offensive line at left tackle. Deshaun Watson has only started 5 games in his career. He won 4 of them. The one that he lost, he was injured in, and that's the other part of it. Is he going to be able to stay healthy for an entire season? Because if he goes down for any significant amount of time, as much as people wanted to pound on Cole Stout, he did keep the boat floating when Watson went down, and he won the bowl game against Oklahoma. So does Schuessler have that kind of ability? I don't know. I haven't seen him play yet. So I think they need to keep Watson healthy will be the understatement of the night.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll hear your interview with Dabo coming up. In your interview, did he discuss Ammon Lakeup with you?
Yeah, I asked him about that, and we actually did a Periscope when he was talking to the group, and Lakeup's going to be back. He's not going to be kicked off the team unless something else happens, but he's doing everything right.
Apparently, he can come back when school starts August the 19th.
And the reason why he's not at camp, and you will hear this in Sweeney's interview, he told me that he didn't want Lakeup to be a distraction for the other kickers as he opens the job up. To be a distraction, his words, for the guys competing for the job. I asked him what the earliest game that Lakeup could be back if he does everything right, and Sweeney says he knows the answer to that, but he's not going to talk about it right now.
Yeah. Well, I think Dabo's handling this the right way. I think that suspending him and sending him home and letting things get sorted out from that standpoint is probably the best thing to do. And I see no reason why you can't give the kid a chance to clean it up and come back. And I know everybody is going to hold the cocaine possession thing over his head as well. It should be over his head, kind of like an anvil, maybe to hit him upside the head to remind him of what he's about to blow. And no pun intended. No. He's about to blow.
I think
college.
No pun intended.
No pun intended. No drug pun intended.
Say no to drug puns.
But he's about to, ruin a career and ruin maybe his life if he keeps going down that road. And hopefully this will wake him up and shake him up, and he'll earn his way back into the good graces at Clemson, because good gracious, they could use him. And they need a steady, dependable kicker. You don't know is going to be like. Freshman kickers can be good, but they can also get nervous and blow critical kicks at critical times. So I think this looks like it's going to have maybe a happy ending, but the Tigers will have to get by without him. And, by not telling you when he will be back, it leads to the speculation that he's probably thinking the first ACC game, which is 3 weeks into the season when they go to Louisville, when, of course, a field goal could be big for him. But who knows? Alex Spence may kick very well in camp, may handle the job well the first 2 games. You might not want to make a change at that point in time.
Well, Danny Pearman at Dabo's golf tournament made a Wally Pipp reference, so that would make that would make Spence Lou Gehrig, I guess.
Yeah,
in that analogy.
You have a headache or you have a drug charge against you, you can lose your job.
Especially if you're a kicker. Those guys are, as Googe was saying last week, those guys don't get a lot of love from coaches.
No, well, they're a dime a dozen. But the good ones you like to have.
Yeah, you got a Groza finalist.
I mean, there's a reason that kickers are usually the last ones offered in the class, except for those very special ones. The guy at Florida State, he's special. And they've had a series. Yeah, they've had a series of very special legs on that team, worthy of scholarships and worthy of heavy recruiting. South Carolina and Clemson have had outstanding kickers that they have brought in over the years on scholarship. I mean, Fry at South Carolina obviously is as good as anybody in the country. Maybe doesn't have the leg strength of a lot of kickers, but certainly the accuracy from 48 yards in. He's pretty deadly. This stretch him out beyond that, it gets a little bit questionable. All right, so we'll hear from Dabo Sweeney coming up in a little bit. We will also hear from Bobby Petrino. Now he was gentlemanly to you.
Very.
When you asked him about Matt Colburn and what happened there.
Yes, I did.
And you asked him about blocking us on Twitter.
I didn't ask him. I didn't get into.
You did or
did not get into the Twitter beef.
Chicken.
Well, I didn't think he doesn't run his Twitter feed. I don't really care. I actually cared to know what he had to say about the Matt Colburn situation, because I don't think anybody's ever asked him directly about it.
Right.
So, and he gave the answer that one might expect. It still doesn't really sit well with me, but he said it happens. He says it's unfortunate, but it happens. We got a commitment from a guy, and he came in January, and our depth chart changed.
Well, that's fine. Then you should have told him right then and there.
Yeah.
Shouldn't have been a couple of days before signing day.
It didn't work out well. I think you're seeing how it all happens. But he said, and all coaches do this, he said, you have to offer so early now. We're handing out more offers than we have scholarships every year. He said everybody's doing that. And when you get to the end, when it's down to crunch time, you're looking at it going, okay, it ain't working. So we're going to have to start cutting guys. And Colburn was that guy. It did get probably amplified because of Petrino and his past reputation, where people are just looking for a reason The company included.
Did you ask him about his friend in Columbia?
And I didn't.
Yeah,
No,
chicken.
Didn't get it.
All right, we'll be right
motorcycle.
back. All right, Tiger fans, your thoughts on Clemson being picked to win the ACC this year by the media. 800-956-7266, the number. Email talkback at sportstalksc.com, on Twitter at sportstalksc. Our website is sportstalksc.com, and on Facebook, Sports Talk Radio Network. Those are the ways you can reach out to us. K-Mac was at the ACC kickoff, just back in from Pinehurst, and he did a few periscopes. If you're not familiar with that, if you kind of new to Twitter, you've not heard what Periscope is, basically it is an app that allows you to go live on Twitter with video and the accompanying audio from wherever you are and whatever you're doing. It's just the latest thing to get you in social media in real time, live and in real time. It's good stuff. From a sports standpoint, I mean, you'll, as a viewer or listener or reader of Twitter, as reporters go about doing their jobs now, we can, when it's not blocked by the people that are overseeing things, I'm sure there's going to be blocks thrown at the media, denial of access of live streaming of things via Periscope. But when that's not the case, you'll be able to watch live, if you're able to get your signal out, watch live interviews and news conferences after games and things of that nature. It's really a great little concept that somebody dreamed up. It's probably making $1 billion.
And we're still learning it. At least I am. And I thought we've kind of done little things around here with it. But I'm amazed as I'm holding it up for Jimbo Fisher. And you do it through your phone. Basically have a television studio in your phone now.
Mm-hmm.
But Jimbo Fisher was talking about all their off-the-field issues, and all these Florida State people were finding it, chiming in
mm-hmm.
and watching it. So it is a neat tool if you're see our, it goes to our Twitter feed. I think there's ways you can access it without Twitter if you just download the Periscope app, which is free on your Android
and then follow us.
Smartphone.
If you follow the people you want to follow
Mm-hmm.
on Periscope, and then you can go back and look at what was on Periscope because it is saved.
Yeah,
so you can go back and look at it. Like Sunday, I did a short little piece from the High School Sports Reports Media Day at Williams-Brice Stadium, talking with David Shelton and just kind of showing folks the various teams that were there. Jimbo Fisher, how did he try to explain what's gone on with his program?
He said that they don't tolerate the things that have happened, and he cited his track record of dismissing guys, and he says they have a policy. You hit a woman, you're off the team, and he said he's lived up to that. He said they're gathering the facts, obviously, with the Cook situation. And he did the whole analogy of if you have 4 kids, same parents, same grandparents, and you tell all 4 of them to do the exact same thing, they don't always do the exact same thing. You have different kids that do different things, and sometimes they go astray, and it's our job to try to get them back in. And he was waxing poetic in a lot of regards. And I think that's what you have to say. And they're trying to clean things up. It's just been they have a bad image going back to Jameis Winston, and it's carrying over now. And they're doing their best now to address it and move forward.
All right, we'll hear from Dabo Swinney coming up after the bottom of the hour break, and more from the coaches at the ACC football kickoff. Also, in our next half hour, the complete recruiting report for this Tuesday night. We'll be right back. We're back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network from Main Street, downtown Columbia. Of course, we are the Sports Talk show of Main Street, South Carolina, every night, 6 to 8 p.m. over one of our great radio stations around the state of South Carolina. Also available online at our website, sportstalksc.com. We have the audio feed, top right corner. We have the video feed at the bottom of the page. You can look in and see just how handsome I am and just what K-Mac looks like as well, if you want to look in and see how we do things here live and on the web stream. Also, of course, you can catch us on iHeartRadio over a couple of our affiliates, and also the TuneIn app is another good app to have. Practically all our stations are available via the TuneIn app. Should you lose us over the airways, good way to catch us there. 800-956-7266 is the phone number. Phone calls coming up in a little bit. Bobby Petrino, Larry Fedora, North Carolina's coach. K-Mac talked to him. South Carolina's opening opponent, so that'll be worth listening to. Steve Spurrier, he was up at ESPN today. We'll hear from him in just a little bit. But first, it's Clemson's day at the ACC Media Days, voted number one in the preseason poll. Deshaun Watson voted number one for the MVP race, K-Mac, and you had a chance to talk to Dabo Swinney.
Yeah, about being voted number one by us media hacks and why he wasn't giving that a little more play.
Is there a trophy that comes with that?
I don't think we can make one for you.
Well, I appreciate that. It's good to see our players. We see potential in our team and our players, but again, as you heard me say many times, it's really just not even worth having much conversation, because you got to go play the games, and we've got a lot of work to do. But hopefully in December whoever picked us, maybe we can make them look smart.
Do you have to guard against the mentality of making sure your players understand that you're the hunted now, not the hunter? I mean, Florida State was always kind of the team that people were chasing, and now you guys are the team people are chasing.
We get everybody's best shot. I don't stick up on anybody anymore. The old underdog mentality, that doesn't really apply to us much anymore, because of the success we've had the last several years. And so our guys know that when we show up, we got to, first of all, prepare great each and every week for every opponent, and we're going to get everybody's best shot. Nobody's going to overlook Clemson. So we just know that, and so it just comes back to our formula of preparation and the things that we're committed to each and every week.
Deshaun Watson was the preseason player of the year. I don't know that anybody in history that's only started 5 games gets that kind of honor, but certainly no one's arguing that that's the right call. Where is he now? I know he's been cleared to practice. From a health standpoint, is he 100% back where he was before?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'd say he's better than he's ever been. So we're excited to get out there and get him going.
What has he improved on, or what have you asked him to improve on specifically going into a sophomore year?
Well, the biggest thing is going into this year, last year he's just trying to assert himself and become the guy. And this year he's obviously the guy. So, assert yourself as the leader and lead the team, lead the offense this summer. And it's been tremendous. I mean, he's such a great worker and loves to prepare. And so, when you got your best player who's also got this tremendous work ethic to go with it, that gets contagious. And so he just brings the confidence to everybody around him. So I'm really proud of how he's led us.
Have you ever, as a player, as a coach, been around a guy that was a freshman and still just a sophomore that has that kind of leadership, that kind of calm collectedness, the way he deals with on the field, from the media to the way he performs, that has been able to do something like that?
No, I haven't. I've been around a lot of good freshmen, but the overall aptitude that he has and football IQ and just the intangibles, also his academics. This is a kid that's had 3 semesters. He's made a 3.5, 4.0, and a 3.2. He is a very committed guy, and just gets it. He understands the platform he has, and I think works hard at trying to use it to be a positive influence.
The guys up front protecting him with Battle now in the NFL. You're going to have a true freshman penciled in there right now. Mitch Hyatt, highly touted guy, but a true freshman. And a lot of coaches say that's the toughest position to go in and play as a true freshman.
Yeah, well, thankfully he's not a true freshman. He's more like a freshman because he did come in January. And so, that's a big benefit to us. And not only is he a guy that's been with us since January, but he's not just a freshman you're sticking in there. This is Mitch Hyatt. He is a very talented young. It's very similar to Deshaun in that as far as his work ethic and commitment and knowledge and desire to be a great football player. So I think we've recruited well. We got a good group of guys, and we'll see what happens.
Defensively, hard to do any better than you did last year on defense. You like the talent you have there. You're just looking to fill in some depth.
Yeah, I think, our first 11, 12, 13 guys, people aren't going to see a lot of difference in our defense. It's a very experienced group, probably the best secondary I've ever been around at Clemson. And, experienced linebackers. I mean, Shaq Lawson had more tackles than Vic Beasley last year, and he backed him up. So good experience with Reader, Carlos, and Kevin Dodd. The difference in our team defensively is we're still deep. We're still talented, but we're very inexperienced. Whereas last year we were deep in experience. So that's the biggest thing. So for us, I think defensively, we need if there's anywhere we could have a little luck, it's to on that side of the ball, it's to keep that front group, a little time to grow some of those backup guys up along the way.
You said Lacob's going to have the opportunity to return at some point, return to the team when school starts, and he said he's going to miss games, and it's going to depend on him doing certain things. If he does everything that he's supposed to do, as asked, when would be the earliest that he could return to action?
Yeah, that's something that we'll talk about later. Right now, I'm just focused on him having a chance to get back with the team, and just kind of further evaluate, when he gets here, where he is, and then, what he does, because there'll be some team discipline once he does get back too. So right now, the biggest thing is he does have an opportunity to return. Play again. I have not made that public at this point, and there's really no need to, because it really kind of all depends on him. So we'll just see where we are and make that announcement at a later time.
So is it an open job? Is Spence going to be the guy?
And that's why I didn't want him in camp. I didn't want him to be a distraction. Not that he's a bad person, but I just didn't want him being a distraction to the competition that's going to go on. We're going to have 3 guys for the job, and somebody will come out as our starter.
All right, Dabo and K-Mac from ACC. Again, Ammon Lakip, earliest he'll be with the team is when school starts, August the 19th. That'll put him a couple of weeks behind the other guys who report the first part of August, and have to wait and see exactly how many games he will miss. And also, you've got to see what the judicial side of this thing is going to be. I mean, he does have a case right now pending against him. He's got an attorney, Robert Ariel, in Greenville to handle this thing, and you got to let the legal process have its part in this thing as well. Mm-hmm. Unless at some point in time they reach some sort of accord and the charges are dropped or the charges are set aside, whatever the case may be, however it might be handled. But you're thinking maybe what? 4 games?
I'm hearing 4 games. It's somewhere between 2 to 4 games, but most people, and nothing it's official, but some people are getting grumblings that it could be 4 games.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, break is coming up here on Sports Talk. On the other side of the break, we'll hear from USC coach Steve Spurrier. He and some other SEC coaches were up at Bristol, Connecticut today to make the rounds of the headquarters of ESPN. Let you hear what he had to say in one of his interviews coming up.
Randy, I have no time limit, but, I feel pretty good. People always starting to ask me about that. And, Coach K at Duke,
Mike Morgan's still on vacation, so no Mike Morgan Braves report. Tell you the Braves will go for 2 in a row over the Dodgers tonight.
Yeah, they beat the Dodgers. How about that? Biggest one of the year for the Braves, probably.
Alex Wood to the mound tonight for the Braves. Mike's reports brought to you by Play It Again Sports off Bauer Parkway in Columbia, where you pay less for more, and by Founders Federal Credit Union, helping South Carolinians attain their financial goals. Now, all the ACC coaches, they were doing their talking in Pinehurst. SEC coaches, you can't keep them quiet. They were up in Bristol yesterday and today, up in Bristol, Connecticut. ESPN bringing them up there for what they call their car wash. I don't know exactly how they came up with the term car wash to describe what they're doing, except that I guess they're running these coaches through various studios and through various shows very quickly to ask them the same questions they asked them last week when they had exclusive access to the coaches at Hoover. Anyway, that's the world we live in. ESPN controls it, and we're just along for the ride. Sometimes that's okay. Steve Spurrier flew up with Florida's coaching staff, or the coaches in Florida. They picked him up, and he went up with them to I wonder if he was already down in Florida, and he went to Gainesville.
They usually come here and pick him up. Yeah. They stop in Columbia.
But. Yeah. He flew up with Jim McElwain, new coach from Florida, and he was on one of the shows. He was on one of the Sports Center interviews with Randy Scott, and here is that piece. Scott, his first question to Spurrier, of course, had to deal with how much longer are you going to coach?
Randy, I have no time limit, but, I feel pretty good. People always starting to ask me about that. And, Coach K at Duke, maybe the best coach in the country in any sport, he and I are about a year apart age-wise. And, of course, he won national championship. Only thing we won was the Independence Bowl, and we did beat Florida and Georgia last year. We had a decent year, but it wasn't one of our best years. But still, we've got some good players on the way. And obviously, if you do something for a long time and it starts going bad, then they have to get a new coach. We all know that. But we don't plan on it going bad. And I'm really happy at South Carolina, the president, the AD, the fans. We all like each other.
So how do you keep your energy up? How do you keep the passion for what you do day in and day out?
Well, Coach K's been coaching longer than I have. Yeah. Hopefully, we just that's what we do. We coach football. I enjoy working out. I enjoy being around the young guys. I enjoy everything about it. I got 2 of my sons on the staff. One's a quality control. One's been a receiver coach all 10 years, recruiting coordinator, helps out with the offense. And we got an excellent group of assistant coaches that really do a lot of work. It's not as stressful to me as to most coaches.
Well, you mentioned the players, and you've got a situation at quarterback for the first time in a while there in South Carolina, where it seems like you've had your guy picked out every year. Now there's a bit of uncertainty. Any of 3 or even how important is it for you to identify that one guy?
Randy, I've always believed that you let them battle it out in preseason. Some coaches like to go through spring and name one, but I always say they may go bad in the summer. One might get better than the other during the summer. The summer's about 3 months of working out and trying to improve. But we got some good players. Connor Mitch is very capable. Mike Scarnecchia, Perry Orth, and then we've got a freshman kid, Lorenzo Nunez, that could get some playing time as sort of a wildcat, as a quarterback, good runner and passer. So we'll let it work its way out, but we have confidence that all those guys can play well.
And you haven't been shy about rotating 2 quarterbacks in your career, and you've done it to success. So is that something you envision this season as well?
Well, I've always believed that if you got a clear-cut best guy, that's what you hope for. But if both of them are pretty good, pretty equal, and one's going bad one day, give the other one a shot. Championship we won at Florida, Rex Grossman and Jesse Palmer pretty much alternated back in 2000 when we won the SEC. So it can be done easily.
All right, there you go, Steve Spurrier from one of the today up at ESPN. I guess the next time we'll hear from him will be a week from tomorrow after his golf tournament at Cobblestone Park in Blythewood. And then the next night, he'll be over at the Coaches for Charity event. Dabo will be in for that. Other coaches from across the state will be in for that, and we'll be there for that as well. So we might have double Spurrier for you next week, if not before then. And, of course, he sounds very, very upbeat, as he did media days. He continues to sound a very optimistic tone for this coming season. Not overly confident, not like they were last year when they were a little misguided in their optimism. Now we'll see, time will tell if they're misguided in their optimism this year. But I think, again, my feeling is he believes they're going to be much better on defense. I think he has complete confidence in Hoke and Ward to put together a very good defense. And I think that he believes offensively they can muster 25, 28 points a game with a good running game and maybe a quarterback who can avoid mistakes and beat people that way. Be right back with recruiting. To the recruiting report we go on this Tuesday night. Offensive lineman Marcus Tatum is 6'6", 265, Daytona Beach. He's a USC target, plans to be at the pool party on Friday. He's got USC as one of his favorites right now. This will be his first visit to South Carolina, and that will leave NC State, Arkansas, and Tennessee as his favorites that he's not yet. He went to Alabama and Florida State last week. Of course, he's been talking with Steve Spurrier Jr., Sean Elliott at USC likes them both. Hearing a lot from all of his 8 favorites. They're all recruiting him hard. He does not have a favorite or a timetable. Dad will join him on his first ever visit to USC. He'll visit Tennessee on Saturday. USC is now in the driver's seat for defensive end Jordan Smith of Lithonia, Georgia, moving past Georgia, Clemson, Tennessee, and Florida. He was at USC Showcase Camp in June. At that time, he declared Clemson as his leader. Since then, USC has kept up the pressure, and he plans to return to Columbia Friday for the pool party. He said he just likes something about South Carolina, things like that, likes Coach Ward, likes Deke Adams, loves Spurrier. So with USC as his favorite, the idea of committing is certainly floating around out there, but he said no, he doesn't think he'll commit on this visit. He's going to commit soon, but he doesn't know how soon. He did say it's still like neck and neck with Georgia for South Carolina, or possibly Clemson, or possibly Florida. So he's not definitely set on anything right now. And he said all the schools continue to recruit him hard, just not at the level that USC has been recruiting him. He was at Georgia Saturday night for Dog Night. What is its plan after the USC weekend? Defensive end Michael Boykin of Carrollton, Georgia, committed to Louisville. He had also considered Clemson. Running back Andrew Plant of Westwood has an offer from Gardner-Webb, interest from the Citadel, Wofford, Charlotte, and Furman. Spartanburg quarterback Austin Scott offers from Elon, Mercer, Lehigh, Old Dominion, SC State, interest from USC, Ohio, Troy, Purdue. Defensive end Javon Kinlaw of Goose Creek, no camps this summer, focusing on books and preparation. He's been talking to USC, Florida State. USC remains his favorite. Right now, junior college appears likely for 2016. Junior offensive lineman Tyler Lilly, 6'5", 295 of Chirac. Just breaking into the recruiting scene. He'll be one to watch. He's heard from Charlotte. Offensive lineman Torrey Boone of Westwood offers from Coastal, Appalachia, North Greenville, Georgia Southern, Citadel, East Carolina. Those are pending based on academic progress. Defensive back Nick McLeod of South Point offers from Northwestern, Kansas State, East Carolina, Marshall, Appalachian State, here from USC and Tennessee. Defensive lineman Jalen Page of Wilson offers from Georgia Southern, Charleston Southern, Wofford, the Citadel, SC State. Junior defensive backs Savalas Can of Bamberg Earhart, USC, Clemson, Georgia, North Carolina, NC State, Tennessee, Florida, and Auburn are his offers. No favorites right now. And Dillon quarterback Avery McCall talking with Coastal Carolina, North Carolina, Oregon State is also a possibility for him. There you go with recruiting on this Tuesday night. Top of the hour break, and we'll be back.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
And we're back. It's hour number 2 of Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network from Columbia. Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary at your service tonight. Larkin Belton is here doing his thing behind the bulletproof glass. Graham Pope is here as well doing absolutely nothing, which is probably a good thing for all of us. 800-956-7266 is our phone number. Clemson, the pick of the ACC media to win the championship. Anybody really surprised? I'll be honest with you. I was a little bit surprised. I thought they would vote Florida State. I think Everett Golson is going to be a great fit in that offense. I don't think their offense is going to miss a beat, whether or not Cook is there. They got other running backs to slide in. And so I thought they would pick Florida State to win it, but they surprised me by going heavy for Clemson. I don't know how many of these people know about the losses that Clemson suffered on defense. Let's don't underestimate the importance of losing quality players off your defense. South Carolina fans can tell you, and losing them in big numbers as Clemson did. Now, the Clemson people will tell you, to answer that argument, they're in better shape with replacements than South Carolina was.
Yeah, well, Clemson has some pieces in the secondary. They have Ron Curse. They have Mackenzie Alexander. They have some guys that have played a little bit at linebacker. I see where people would make that comparison. I don't think the talent drop-off is quite as big, and I don't think anybody realized what the talent drop-off was at South Carolina. And we talked about this last summer. They were switching their scheme to a 3-4 and changing things up, which I didn't understand. You just can't switch to a 3-4 like it's nothing. But it was because they didn't feel like they had a lot of really good linemen. And they didn't. That was true. And
they thought they had a plethora of really good linebackers, which I think they do now. They're pretty deep at linebacker, but they couldn't get away from the lack of push up front on the defense. The other night, there was absolutely nothing on television. I mean, absolutely nothing. So I went back through the recordings that I have stuffed away in the DVR and started looking at the Clemson USC game again and watched the first half. And Artavis Scott, on those runs, the jet sweeps that he broke for those big runs, David Johnson, South Carolina's defensive end, he did the same thing all 3 times. I think Scott had 3 big runs in the first half, and all 3 times he took an inside angle and left the outside vulnerable. And, I mean, I don't know if that's how he was coached or that's how he was told to play it, or just didn't realize what was going on, but nobody fixed that for South Carolina in the first half.
That's why I don't think you need to – Clemson's defense is going to slip some. They were the number 1 ranked defense in the country, but they are not going to slip on anything close to the level that South Carolina's defense slipped last year. It was more than just personnel, and that was part of it. There were some schematic problems with South Carolina's defense last year. There were some breakdowns somewhere in their preparation and their – fundamentals.
But who's going to be, they had great leaders on that defense last year. Stephon Anthony, Grady Jarrett, Vic Beasley. Who's going to be those guys on this defense?
Shaq Lawson, Boulware, Alexander.
Good to be back. You know, this is always a fun time for us and tells you that football is right around the corner. I got to talk to our two players that came down yesterday, first thing this morning, and they both really had a good time, enjoyed themselves. So that's what I'm most excited about.
Are you
By the way, Steve Spurrier up at ESPN today was asked about a number of things, including his rules for his players about marijuana and hitting women. And he said, of course, he has zero tolerance for hitting girls. He said, I've had that rule, I think, every year I've been at South Carolina, so 10 years, and we've lost 2 players. I tell the team when they first arrive on campus, all the freshmen know right now, if you ever hit a girl, punch a girl, whatever, you're finished. You can go somewhere else, transfer somewhere else, but you're not going to be on our team. That's just a rule I have, a personal rule. Some other coaches don't have it. They think give a guy a second chance, but we don't have a second chance. We don't have second chances for that. Then he threw in this line about marijuana usage before concluding his thoughts on domestic violence. Quote, you can smoke pot and get lectured on it. 3 pots and you're finished.
3 pots?
3 pots and you're finished. And we have our rules for all our other things. We haven't had anything happen with domestic violence in about 8 years now. So I think it's a good rule. And if you enforce it, it's really helpful. 3 pots and you're done. I saw a follow-up on that comment in the state paper. They followed up by noting that is the university policy. Mm-hmm. He's just falling in line with the university policy on what happens when you are tested or you are arrested for marijuana use.
Now, there is something in between. I think the first one you get the lecture. The second one you miss a few games, 3-4 games, and then on the third, you're done.
Yeah. All right, Steve Spurrier, being Steve Spurrier up at ESPN. Let's jump back to the phones, 800-956-7266. We go to Barnwell and Raymond. Welcome into Sports Talk tonight. How are you?
Hey, Phil.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, Mike. How's everything, man?
Outstanding.
Great. Just a little bit of, I always call in to give my prognostications of how things are going to end at the end of the year. And last year, I guess I got a zero tolerance for pot, too.
Okay.
Anyway, I feel like Clemson will probably finish number 2 in the country. And they'll probably play number 3 Alabama. And then they'll play Ohio State for the national championship.
Wow.
Think about it.
Wow. Clemson, Ohio State for all the marbles. A rematch of the Orange Bowl 2 years ago.
Yeah. Well, I think Ohio State has a great chance of being in the 4. They're loaded, obviously. And Clemson, I think
Clemson's running game. I think Clemson's running game is really going to surprise a lot of people this year.
It's not the skill position, people, that you have to worry about at Clemson. I'm not convinced that they're great at either offensive tackle spot, because on the left side, it's a rookie.
You remember Kenny Flowers back in the late 70s, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think we got a running back in there that's going to kind of remind us a lot of Kenny Flowers.
Were you talking about Gallman or somebody else?
Gallman.
Yeah,
not as big as Kenny Flowers. I don't know if he's as fast. Kenny Flowers was that great combination of size and speed. But I want to go back to what I was saying. You know, I'm not convinced yet that their offensive tackle play is going to be of a national championship caliber just yet. Starting off with a freshman at left tackle, you know, I don't care how talented he is and how great he was in high school. It's a big jump.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the right side, Joe Gore, who is coming off. He's had some knee issues. He's been kind of up and down in his career. So I'm not sure about that. Crowder and McLean at center. I'm sorry, Crowder and McLean at the guards. They're pretty solid. And Norton and Guillermo at center, or one of those slipping to guard. I mean, they've got a nice rotation in there in the middle. I don't know about the tackles right now, but you know, we'll see. That might come along. That appears to me to be the only question mark on offense, and they can probably solve that and fix that. And of course, with Watson's ability to escape, run around, he can keep a play alive. But then again, you got to keep him alive. And that's going to be the key item there, because obviously he has the history of injury issues thus far in his short career.
And I'll say this, the ACC, there are some tough games out there lurking. Everybody circles the obvious ones, the game at Louisville, the Florida State game, the Notre Dame game. That Trek in the Textile Bowl on Halloween, circle that one too.
Oh, sure.
Looking at NC State, they won 4 or 5 to close the season. They have a lot of guys back on defense.
Quarterback's back.
Brissett is a very experienced quarterback. They got to find some receivers. They have some good running backs. That's not going to be an easy game either. Everybody knows Georgia Tech, always tough. It's not going to be easy for Clemson, but certainly they deserve to have the target on them. They are the best team, I think, on paper going into the year.
Thanks for your phone call. Let's continue on the phone lines as we go to Anthony in Tennessee is with us next here on Sports Talk. Hello, Anthony. Welcome to the program.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Hey, wanted to talk about my Tigers there. I think they got the vote because they're home this year, like K-Max was saying, and Florida State took just as many hits as Clemson did as far as the offensive line and their defense. Their backups on the offensive line are going to be all freshmen and 2 starting freshmen slated right now to start. So I think they're about even the hits they took.
Okay. Would not disagree with that. But they took, if you look at it that way, you look at what Florida State's got in terms of their skill position people, and you have to like what they have too. I mean, look, I'm Everett Golson. We can debate this. He has a much longer track record to look at than Deshaun Watson. He's been in more pressure-packed situations than Deshaun Watson. He could be every bit as good a quarterback in that Florida State offense as Deshaun Watson's going to be in Clemson's offense.
And he works for 22 interceptions.
Yeah,
I know people are going to keep bringing that up.
He played in the national championship game too. So.
And you know what? He's a bad call away last season. He's a bad call away, or a controversial call away from maybe having Notre Dame back in the championship.
As Jimbo Fisher said, he was a pick play away from beating us in Tallahassee.
Exactly.
But I wouldn't, if you said Deshaun Watson or Everett Golson for one season right now, I'm taking Watson, though, not thinking twice about it.
All right, we'll see. I mean, look, I'm an Everett Golson fan from his high school days going back. Yeah.
I like EG too, but not as much as I like number 4 up in Clemson.
Well, yeah, you still have to consider, until he proves otherwise, the toughness factor, his ability to stay healthy. Everett Golson, I think he has stayed healthy through his
think
career.
The injury, I don't think you question his toughness. The guy played with a torn ACL.
Well, you know what I
touchdowns.
mean. You know what I mean. I mean, in terms of being able to stay healthy.
The same thing we used to say about Connor Shaw. He was dinged up a lot and
Correct.
hurt a lot, and that he was tough. He fought through it, but he was never really healthy. Can Watson stay healthy is a definite, legitimate question.
And when you're hurt, you can't help your team. You're hurt, you can't help your team. I'm not blaming him. I mean, he got hurt trying to stretch for a first down. He breaks his finger against Louisville. He gets hurt in the spring, I guess it was, with his shoulder. The knee thing had been ongoing. Yeah, I'm not questioning his toughness. I mean, he's tougher than nails. But I'm talking about the toughness of his body to be able to hold up. That hasn't been proven yet. All right, back to the phones we go. Thanks for your phone call. Bob in West Columbia. You're up next on Sports Talk. How are you?
Buddy?
Hey.
Did you get to read your tweets? Did you get to read your emails?
I read them all the time, my man. Read them all the time.
Okay, well, look here. It's all about tools or weapons for Florida, Florida State, and Clemson. If you're going to break it down that way, Deshaun Watson has somebody for a first-teamer called Mike Williams. That's his main tool. Okay? At wide receiver. Now, Everett Golston, how much does he know? Is his name Jesus Wilson? Is the third team all offense on the ACC. I'll put a plug in for Lindy's. Okay, that's where I'm reading from. It's all who your tools or weapons are at running back, tight end, because defense wins championships.
All right, thanks for your phone call. We'll talk about Florida State and those weapons in a moment. All right, thanks for the phone call there, Bob. And, talking about Florida State and their weapons, yes, they do have to rebuild their offensive line. They only have one starter back from last year. That's their left tackle, Roderick Johnson, and he's a big one. He's 330 pounds on a 6'7" frame. He's a big one. He's a good one. Have to replace their two tight ends. O'Leary's gone. Hapley is gone. They have a couple of backups on the offensive line who will step up this year and try and be starters. Kareem Ayer will probably start at one guard spot. Reuben Carter will probably start at a guard spot. Chad Mavety will start at the right tackle spot, replacing Bobby Hart. He's a guy South Carolina recruited out of junior college. But then you go to the skill position people, and, of course, Travis Rudolph, who was a freshman starter for him last year at wide receiver. He's a big-time talent, big-time player. So he is back. You mentioned Jesus Wilson. He is back as a starting wide receiver. So two of the starting wide receivers are back. The running back position, of course, Dalvin Cook is the guy. If he's able to play, Mario Pender, no slouch. He's back. We mentioned the freshman Jacques Patrick coming in, highly touted. I mean, listen, Florida State's loaded up at running back. They've got their fullback. You throw a talent like Everett Golson in there, assuming he wins the job over Sean McGuire. And McGuire, they may find a package or two for him to use his big arm. I mean, he's a 6'6" quarterback with a big arm, and I'm sure they will find a way to use him as well. But I think Everett Golson is going to flourish in this Florida State offense, just like he did at Notre Dame. Now, why did he have so many turnovers? If you go and break those down, I believe it's pretty evenly split between fumbles and interceptions. I'd have to go back and look for sure, but I think I recall it being pretty evenly split between the two. So ball protection is something that I'm sure he has thought long and hard about, and is something that they're going to drill him on and dwell on with him in this preseason. Being a senior, knowing it's his money year, knowing it's a one opportunity at Florida State to get into the playoffs, I would think he's going to be very careful with the football. And in their offense, quick striking as it is, and with the deep balls they take, they don't put the ball in jeopardy a whole lot through the air. Now, if you get hit on the blind side and you fumble, so be it. But their offense is usually pretty safe about protecting the football. I don't remember Winston throwing a whole bunch of interceptions for most of his career. So
he got a little loose last year.
I think Golson's going to be just fine. So I think Florida State, Clemson, when they meet in Death Valley, it should line up to be for all the marbles in that division, which goes back to my comment earlier. I don't know why we just don't do away with divisions, and you're not playing round robin anyway, but line them up 1 through 14, and let's get the two best teams at the end of the regular season into the championship game. If it's Clemson and Florida State, the two best teams, they should play for the championship as well.
Same schedules, just do 1 through 14 and take the top two.
Absolutely.
Wouldn't have a major problem with that.
All right, Sports Talk Tuesday nights, South Carolina Radio Network. K-Mac, what is this that you are sipping on?
Somebody handed me something from the Holy City, a washout wheat from Holy City Brewing down in Charleston.
Is that good?
Somebody brought it for me, so I'm sampling it.
I wonder if Jerome's ever had a washout wheat or 2 or 3 or 5 down in Charleston. My guess is yes. My guess would be the
if you like wheat beer. It's not bad.
Isn't weed in every beer?
What's the ABV on this thing?
The who? Weed. He said wheat. He didn't say weed. He said wheat.
3 wheats and you're off the team.
All right, 800-956. 3 pots and they're off the team. 800-956-72. Yeah, there's one of the good ones. 3 pots and they're off the team. 800-956-7266 is the phone number here on Sports Talk. Email talkback@sportstalksc.com. And Chip is not caught up with us yet, so we'll wait for him. If not now, maybe a little bit later. K-Mac did catch up with our good friend
of the show,
Petrino,
now friend of the show, Bobby Petrino,
who we have not blocked on Twitter, but we can't say the same for him.
Yes, he's making his second round through the ACC Media Days in year 2 of stint 2 at Louisville.
Yes. Here's Petrino.
Good to be back. This is always a fun time for us and tells you that football's right around the corner. I got to talk to our 2 players that came down yesterday, first thing this morning, and they both really had a good time, enjoyed themselves. So that's what I'm most excited about.
Are you where you want to be in terms of getting everything in and guys kind of picking up what you like to do, your offense? And I know you have some quarterback things we'll get into here shortly, but are you where you want to be going into your second year?
You're never where you want to be. You'd like to just be lining up and everyone knows exactly what they want to do. But I'm excited about what we have coming back. We've kept our entire staff intact, so we've got a lot of continuity. We've got the same terminology. We've got the same schemes going on. So our players' knowledge of how we're going to operate offensively, defensively, and special teams is good. And the tone has been set on how we're going to operate and conduct our business. So I've got a team that has great attitude and strong leadership.
You do have some guys to replace off last year's team. You had some talented guys that are now on NFL rosters. But how do you feel about replacing those guys?
I feel good. We have 10 starters that were drafted and another 4 or 5 guys that were picked up as free agents. So it was a very, very good senior class. They've set a nice standard for the University of Louisville and the tradition. And I think our guys coming back are very confident. We work hard. We see it as an opportunity for other guys to step up and elevate their game. And we're going to have good competition in camp. So I think our depth will be much better overall.
The quarterback race, you've got maybe it's a good problem to have, or maybe you'd like to have an established guy, but you have a pretty big battle there.
Yeah, I think it's a good problem to have. Last year I was sitting here and we had 0 experience at the quarterback position. I mean, absolutely 0. So now we've got 3 guys that have been able to play in big games, find ways to win big games, and understand what we're trying to do offensively. So we're going to put a lot of pressure on them to compete and perform well in practice, and that'll make the games much easier.
You mentioned big games. You opened with Auburn. They were picked to win the SEC. Your first conference game is against Clemson. Today they were picked to win the ACC. So you're going to get right into the thick of things quick.
Yeah, we get open right away and find out a lot about our football team. But it's fun to have an opener that means that much. Has helped us all throughout the offseason. Our guys are very dedicated, work extremely hard, and we know we've got to get ready for a big, big game in the opener. Then we come back and play Houston at home. That's a very good football team. And 5 days later, play Clemson. So we got to do a great job of preparing in a short week for a very, very good Clemson team.
That was a heck of a game in the Valley last year, all the way down to the 1 yard line. And that's the difference between winning and losing. And you get them at your place this year on a Thursday night.
Yeah, it'll be fun. We like Thursday night games. Normally you have a bye before it, so it's going to be a short week for us, especially with the 2 games we played previous. But I think we got a good plan. We've got to do a good job of trying to slow down their offense and stop a great quarterback and a really good group of wide receivers. So it's going to be a great challenge, but we are at home, and we always play good in Papa John's.
A couple of just general college football questions. One, the cost of attendance that has been put into place, that's been a big item now. Where do you stand on that in terms of a good step? More needs to be done, less, or do you like it where it is?
Well, I think it's a great thing for the student athlete welfare, to be able to get a few extra dollars in their pocket. And we've got a good plan on how we're going to spread it out throughout the 2 semesters. And, the only question that ever remains is, because there's a difference in certain universities, is how do you use it as a recruiting advantage? Obviously, all the football coaches would like to be the same, but it's very complicated and it's way above football. So you're not going to see that change. You just got to be able to deal with it.
And the other thing is, and this happens at a few programs every year, and it happened with you, and it actually involved a guy from in-state, the oversigning thing, the South Carolina kid, Colburn, who's Mr. Football, and that he didn't end up with you guys at the last minute. From your standpoint, how do you explain that?
Well, what's happened is they don't allow you to oversign anymore. That's what's made it harder to manage your roster, because you used to be able to, at one time, sign as many guys as you want, and then you only get to 25 initials when school starts. And then it was to 28, and now it's, completely off. But it's an unfortunate situation. The day we asked someone to gray shirt, so did 6 other universities throughout the country. And each player and that reacts different to every situation.
Is there really not a lot you can do about it? It's just one of those unavoidable things, or is there a fix?
I mean, it's one of those things that comes up sometimes that is not good for anybody. It's unfortunate, but things change. You get guys that you have to offer guys early to get in the game. So a lot of times you offer way more guys than you have scholarships for. That's just a reality. And then things change. Sometimes we were able to get a commitment and a guy that come on campus in January, and things changed on the depth chart.
Things change.
Bobby Petrino, the hard thing about Petrino is he comes across as a very nice guy. He sounds like a nice guy, and I'm sure in a lot of ways he is a nice guy. He is definitely an offensive genius. Everywhere he has been, he has played great offensive football. But the guy has a well-deserved reputation as a snake. He did it to Louisville the first time around, tried to. He did it to the Falcons. He did it to himself at Arkansas. He did it to Western Kentucky, 1 year and boom. He goes to Western Kentucky. They give him a chance to resurrect his career. And how does he thank them? 1 year, and he's gone to Louisville, the next big opportunity.
I mean, I don't blame him for that one as much. Western Kentucky is, you don't stay there forever.
No, but I mean, you got to give him more than 1 year. These guys took you when nobody else would touch you and gave you a chance to come back and restart your career. And as soon as a better opportunity opened up, bang, you were gone. Tells me he thinks of nothing but himself and his own career.
Oh, well, I don't think and that's a lot of coaches out there. The Kentucky thing aside, his reputation does speak for itself. And he does make the point, and I think it's a fair point, that other schools do what he did to Colburn. Now, Colburn was Mr. Football, great student, great kid, and it didn't feel right. And Lorenzo Malden, who played for Petrino last year, was ready to sign with Steve Spurrier and the Gamecocks, and they said, we don't have room. They didn't tell him to go somewhere else. They just said, sign a piece of paper and we'll get you in January. And that wasn't good enough. And he's in the NFL now. So it does happen other places. And maybe Petrino got a worse rap for his past reputation, for the fact that he blocked all of us on Twitter for just asking about it, the entire South Carolina media contingent. But at least he called it unfortunate, but I don't think he regrets it.
I'm sure he has not lost a nanosecond of sleep over the fact that we and others have been blocked on Twitter.
I don't think he probably even knows.
Yeah. All right, we'll be back. We'll take more calls, 800-956-7266. Sports Talk.
Starting year 4, I heard you talking earlier. You really feel like you're almost there. Maybe this is the year you guys break through.
Yeah, we'll find out. But yeah.
I can't talk right now. For some reason, ESPN is showing highlights from the Packers and Seahawks playoff game, NFC Championship last year. We were up 16-7. We had this game absolutely controlled for 58 minutes. 50. I wish I'd have been here when Googe was here.
The new season, you got to flush it.
58. We just dominated these guys. Dominated. Still can't believe it. Still can't believe it. I will never get over that one. Haven't gotten over the loss to Philadelphia either, or the one to the Giants either, twice.
A lot of losing in there.
But, you know, you have to be great to be in positions regularly to have your heart broken. So I'd rather be great and be in a position to have my heart broken than to never be in that position at all.
Sure.
You know? Yeah. All right, back to the phones we go. And we go to Tim in Myrtle Beach. Tim, Myrtle Beach, I bet you're in the ocean, but look out for the sharks. Welcome into Sports Talk. How are you?
Hey, how you doing tonight?
Good, man. How are you?
Oh, not too bad, not too bad. I was calling about Everett Golson. I'm a huge Notre Dame fan, and I like the kid. He's a good kid. I actually met him several times. My son played at St. James, so, you know, they walloped us a few times. But, yeah, I was very happy when he announced that he was leaving, because I have never been sold on Everett Golson as a leader at the quarterback position. You know, it was 2012. I mean, we got, I don't know how many lucky breaks. And then, you know, last year it was just like, you know, he started off good. I know the defense was kind of so-so, got hurt, a lot of injuries and stuff. But if it was a pressure situation, man, he just like crumbled. I don't think he'll even be a starter at Florida State. What do y'all think?
I think he will start. He completed 60% of his passes last year, 3,445 yards, 265 yards a game, 29 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. He was sacked 27 times last year. Was Notre Dame's offensive line that bad last year?
Yeah, and they were down in some games. Their defense got a little shaky. They lost one of their big guys on defense, and they were taking some chances. And that's where some of those turnovers came from, although the fumbles were strange. Yeah, he's got to protect the ball better, but
But I mean, look at these.
But numbers. I'm worried about him. He's going to go to a new offense.
Yeah.
He wasn't there for spring. He's going to have to figure all this out.
Look, he is a very smart guy. This guy plays 5 musical instruments. Football's not even way intelligent. Yeah, the football's not even his favorite sport. I mean, basketball I think is his love, but football's what he's really great at. And instruments. He's a very bright guy. He'll have no trouble picking up Florida State's. Look, some of the dummies that have played at Florida State. Come on. How hard can it be? All right.
Very true.
He'll have no trouble picking it up.
Well, my whole thing is like, like Tommy Reese, I felt that Tommy Reese was a better quarterback than Everett Golson when he was there. And he got the start because Tommy Reese got in trouble. And, that Brian Kelly was trying to, show he was the chief. And so, Everett got the start his freshman year. And what I thought is that it was like, he got in that pressure situation. It was like he just made the wrong calls. And I never seen, get onto him. It was like he had to, coddle his ego or something. And, Tommy Reese would throw a touchdown, and then if he threw a pick, he was, screaming at him. It always, just kind of baffled me. Why? Why are you so hard on him? But I've never once. I've watched every Notre Dame game forever, and every one that Golson ever played, I never saw him once yell at him when he made a mistake.
Well,
I was just
I don't know. I don't know that he and Kelly were getting along either, and I think that had a lot to do with his decision to leave, not just the competition and the fact that he was not named the starter coming out of spring. I think that he and Kelly were clashing somewhat as well. You might not have seen it, but I think there was some friction going on there. This is a guy that's passed for nearly 6,000 yards in his career, 41 touchdowns, 20 interceptions. So better than a 2-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio, 6,000 yards. He's going to light it up at Florida State.
He's a very good player.
He's going to light it up. I just, I think he is. All right, back to the phones we go. Thank you for your phone call. No. Okay. I think ESPN is just trying to punish me. There it is. There's the onside kick. Why did he try? Why did he try?
So bad for Boston.
To field that.
That was
I could not believe
tough
that.
thing to watch.
It still hurts. Still hurts. And then,
and now he can hurt the Packers even more with the Vikings next season.
I hate to tell Brandon this. We play them twice. We're going to punish him for that. He will be punished for what he did. No, I can't blame him. He was trying to make a play. He was told not to try to field the ball. He was supposed to go up and block. We had a receiver behind him there to make the catch, but he just tried to make a football play, wasn't thinking, and it backfired. All right, thanks for the call. Be right back. All right, tomorrow, Southern Conference has its media day at the Marriott in Spartanburg. We'll be there for that. Looking forward to talking to the in-state coaches in particular, and also our old friend Bobby Lamb coming back with Mercer as the head coach of the Mercer Bears in the Southern Conference. We'll have that covered for you tomorrow night, plus more from ACC football kickoff. We'll hear from Larry Fedora. The Tar Heels, of course, going to take on South Carolina. From your interview with him, what's his feeling about playing the Gamecocks, comparing the two teams?
Well, he's excited about his team. They were picked 5th today, but he really thinks he's going into his 4th year. He thinks that they are right on the cusp. He really likes their offense, and he has an experienced quarterback, some experienced pass catchers, some playmakers at running back. His entire offensive line is back. Mm-hmm. The defense was terrible, and he knows that, and they had all sorts of issues, but Gene Chizik is there, a new system, 7 returning starters. They believe they're going to be much improved from a year ago defensively.
Well, Gene Chizik made his name as a defensive coordinator before he went to
Iowa State.
Yeah,
he won a championship at Texas as a defensive
went to Iowa State and won 6 games, I believe.
Yeah, right? Wasn't very good there.
Then he goes to Auburn.
Won a championship.
I remember that. Remember when he arrived at Auburn and the people were screaming at him?
Go home.
Go home. Yeah, we don't – 6 wins.
And then he took it back, and then they brought it back again when
who was his was Ellis the DC?
No.
Who was the DC? Oh,
they had Ted Roof.
Who was
Ted Roof was his defensive coordinator
at Auburn when he won the national championship. Ted Roof. Okay. All right, so they're counting on Chizik to fix the defense. Looking at some of their defensive, the names, some of their personnel, they got a lot of people I don't recognize. I wonder just how talented they are on defense. Now you heard, Fedora feels better about it and feels like they're going to make some progress there. We'll wait and see on that. Maybe a good opportunity for South Carolina's offense in that opener to kind of get its feet wet and get a good feel at quarterback for whether it's Mitch or Nunez or Perry Orth. Read some things about Perry Orth that he's got a great understanding of the offense. Maybe of all the quarterbacks, he's got the best grasp of the offense. But
Spurrier, I've never heard him talk about a true freshman quarterback before. He didn't even do this with Stephen Garcia when he was then again, Stephen Garcia maybe didn't give him a chance because of all the other stuff. But Nunez, he didn't play in a passing offense. That's fine. Well, he's going to be playing in a passing offense under Steve Spurrier. He passed for 800-something yards last year.
They think
that's not a guy that's ready to play.
Here has to be the troubling thing, and that is throughout SEC media days a week ago today, he never endorsed Mitch as a starting quarterback, even though he was the guy coming out of spring. He clearly left the door open, which makes you kind of wonder why he's not endorsing Mitch as a starting quarterback. Did he suffer some sort of a setback in the summer? Has he not been as good in the summer or as dedicated to it or whatever the case? I don't know. But it left me kind of puzzled last week why he didn't come out and fully endorse him, at least as a starter going into camp. Thank you for being with us. Thank you, Larkin. Thank you, State Man. K-Mac, good to have you back. And we'll see you tomorrow night here on Sports Talk.